If you can please respond to that. Stefan.
Yes, I understand. I have a basic understanding of the situation in Sudan, and I actually feel very strongly that it's injustice, to say the least. Now, the way we're structured in the PAC, if there are various individuals who represent certain issues within the PAC. So if you're concerned about Sudan, please join us in the meetings, and we will plan an action, inshallah, for this particular issue. And thank you for your question. It is a very important one that, as you said, it's not in the media, and it should be. In my opinion, it should be all the time. It's just unspeakable injustice in Sudan.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any other questions? You have one? Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Temi Amusho from African Heritage Media. My question is this, and it's not going to be a question as far. It's going to be a continuation of what the last person talked about. It is disheartening when evil is perpetrated against Africans by other people. But it is extremely bad when the evil is coming from our own people. Looking at the length and breadth of Africa, we should understand that the most heinous act is being committed by our own people against ourselves. The world is not going to help us if we do not start helping ourselves. The world is just the rest of the world is just a player. We are the real deal in our own situation. We do not have to wait for other people to come and help us. Let us start by helping ourselves. And this is just the beginning of how to help ourselves. What we're doing in this community is what everybody should emulate. But reverse is the case when you go out there and try to call people together. Even in a civilized society where we are now, it is very difficult to get each other together for a good cause. We can talk about Darfur, we can talk about any other places like Somalia and stuff like that. The problem is this evil is being committed against each other by those people living there, Africans to Africans, not European to Africa this time around. So we have little or nothing to say when the world is looking elsewhere. We are just lucky that we have the Western world that is sympathetic to our cause. We cannot take all our burden on them. Even our own president and our own leadership are bad people too. They cannot pretend like if they don't know what is happening. Look at Boko Haram in Nigeria. Boko Haram is perpetrating evil. They are not coming from anywhere than Nigeria or Africa, because we saw some non-Nigerian among them. But what has the president been able to do? What has the leadership of the country been able to do? Do we blame other people for that too? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions before we go to the next speaker? Yes, sir. Your name, any question, please?
Assalamu alaikum. I just want to piggyback on what the man says back there about what's going on right now in
Palms.
Okay, what's going on right now in Sudan? I mean, for me, thinking for myself, we don't have to wait for anybody to help ourselves. We help ourselves because we've been waiting for like 100 years and nothing has changed. So if we keep waiting for like the so-called media or the Western world to come and help us out, when we have our own resources that we can use, I mean, we can do that ourselves. I just think that I should say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thanks so much for your time, and I do appreciate you. Good presentation, good information. For those of you that are, for those of you farms, I'm going to give you a red card. Just to summarize what the brother said in Wolof, I have one slide that I'm going to refer to, and I wish that we had all the time in the world to entertain all the questions, but we gotta move along here. More of me, Brother Birongwa Mungoni work on behalf of an organization in Rhode Island called Rigma Pack. Rigma Pack dafa nekk mbootaay boo xam ne mbootaay sëriñ si la ñi nekk in Rhode Island. And seen objective or li leen ekkati bokk na ci di ñeenti yëf. Benn mooy pour taxawal relationship diggante mbootaay bi ak politicians yi. Comme jox ñu kàddu bu ñoo mën a waxee ñun sëriñ si nekk Rhode Island. Ñaareel ba mooy outreach and coalition building, mel ni su xew-xew amee naka la ñoo jokkooee naka la ñoo communiquer. Ñetteel bi reinforcement of national and regional Muslim organization. Region bi nekk nga xam ne Rhode Island daf ci bokk sëriñ si nga xam ne ñoo nekk ci boor yi ci gox gi su dee dañoo am xew-xew wala dañoo am jëf-jëf Rigma Pack ci la ñu cee boole. And the final point out of slide number 8 mooy educating the community yégle ak xamle, which is what the brother just did, the education part of it. And there are a lot of good points, but I can tell you that from the two gentlemen that spoke earlier, I encourage you to get involved and get people involved. That's how you change things. And I do appreciate the comments. They are very well fitting. I am one that will say that I'm on your side. We have done enough blaming to the outside world when we haven't really looked at ourselves in the mirror. But I gotta tell you something, we have a brilliant panel which I am sure are going to touch on some of these issues. We also have organizations within Rhode Island, represented on this panel here, who are doing a great job at putting things into perspective for us. There couldn't be any bigger organization in my mind than the NAACP, so we do have a representation. We also have the African Alliance of Rhode Island, which provides a great forum where this kind of dialogue can take place. And I encourage you to be a part of that so it can be counted as well. All right? So without much to do, before we go on to the next, I'm going to go to the next speaker, who is Carissa Napolitano, who is an attorney on immigration law. Carissa?
Well, I didn't think I'd be hearing such political dynamics today. That's very, very exciting. And I would love to make a lot more comments, but I will try to limit my brief presentation to immigration. Although, being an Egyptian, married to an Egyptian, not Senegalese, my husband would be pretty upset if he thought I were married to a Senegalese, although he does like Senegal. He competed there quite a bit in judo. But nevertheless, the issue with Egypt is very complex. And I think you and I might differ on the take of what really went down in Egypt and what's happening now. But I want you all to pray for Egypt because it needs our prayers, especially as part of Africa. Okay, well, I want to begin by thanking, of course, the good men and women who organized this event. Mr. Fadia, Mr. Jallo, Mr. Torres done a great job, Mr. Joe. I'm excited. This is my first presentation here in Rhode Island. I recognize some faces over there on this side of the room, so it's nice to see some familiar faces. I'm very well connected in the Senegalese and West African associations throughout the country, in fact. So it's an honor for me to be invited here for the first time in Rhode Island. And I look forward to seeing you all again. What I want to do today is give you some information. Information is how we help ourselves. And I'm hearing a theme today about empowering ourselves. Let's help ourselves as Africans. Let's help ourselves as American citizens. And this is important. We need to have information. And when it comes to immigration in a country that may not be your home country, immigration information is critical. So what I will do today briefly is go over some of the popular applications that you may have come across or may face in your future. My practice focuses on immigration law, and we focus largely on refugee, asylum, cancellation of removal cases involving West African men and women. We also do citizenship, adjustment of status, family petitions, etc. But those are generally forms that you can find on uscis.gov. So don't let any lawyer tell you that you need a lawyer to follow those applications, because it's pretty self-explanatory. And West Africans tend to be quite sophisticated. But when it comes to applications that have to be litigated in court, in federal court, you do need an attorney. And even if you're filling out I had questions on citizenship applications this morning. Even if you're able to fill this application out yourself, seek the advice of an attorney in advance. And there are many attorneys like me who will sit down with you for free and give you a consultation. It's very important to have an attorney who's going to give you an honest response. And that I can promise you will get from the law office of Teresa Napolitano. I'm quite honest with my consults. Sometimes they don't like how honest I am, but it's what we need. Thank you. And it's what you need. You don't need to be taken advantage of. No one does in the United States. This isn't something particular to West Africans. This is something particular to all immigrants in the United States. So we do need to protect ourselves. So with regard to refugee applications, we have the I-589, which is an asylum application, and a withholding of removal application. Technically, those who have entered the United States less than 1 year from the date they make the application, they are entitled to asylum if they're successful on the application. If they pass that year, the rule is that they're only eligible for withholding of removal. And I'm saying this to you because a lot of people have questions. What's the difference of withholding of removal and asylum? And why didn't I get asylum? Why can't I travel even though I'm being called a refugee? I'd like to go back and see my family. I'd like to go back and bury my father, God forbid. So this is a situation I'm addressing right now because I want you to understand the difference. The benefits of asylum and withholding are quite different. Withholding will give you the permission and the protection, in fact, to stay in the United States indefinitely. It will give you a work permit, and it will make you quote-unquote legal. However, you won't be able to travel freely outside the United States with this status. You won't be able to petition for your children with this status, nor will you be able to petition for your spouse. However, if you are an asylee, you have the ability to bring over your children from Guyana. You have the ability to bring over your husband from Senegal. You can travel to Burkina Faso and visit your family later on in the future. So the benefits are quite different, and the consequences of these two statuses are different. The main reason people don't get asylum and they get withholding of removal is 99.9.9% is about timing, when you file your application. So, consequently, if you have someone you know or yourself who's interested in exploring the relief of refugee status in the United States, and you just arrived or you're coming upon that 1-year deadline, encourage your sister to go seek counsel. Go yourself, make a phone call, because that 1-year deadline, although it does have exceptions, is a technical rule that is usually followed, and the consequences can really affect. My concern is always with the children that are still overseas, because you won't be able to bring over your son and daughter who perhaps are in hiding. If you're dealing with a political situation, your children could be in danger. So these deadlines can be very, very important. One other application I'd like to bring to your attention is an application called cancellation of removal. People often refer to this as the 10-year case. I will go over briefly the 3 elements to this case. One is 10 years presence in the United States. Presence is calculated very specifically for this case. You count the day that you entered the United States all the way through the day you are served with your NTA, which is your date to see an immigration judge. Short-term departures are permitted, but 10 years presence in the United States, continuous presence. The second thing that you have to establish in order to gain the relief of cancellation of removal, which gets you a green card at the end, is that you're a person of good moral character. You've been paying your taxes. You have been an active member in the community. You pay attention to what goes on in your children's schools. You don't have any serious arrests. And you are generally known as a person of good moral character. Usually this is not an issue with my West African clients because they tend to pay taxes, even if they're overseas. Very rarely do I face serious criminal matters with West Africans. So good moral character shouldn't be a problem. The third element, and this is really what this application is about hardship to your U.S. citizen or green card holder parent, spouse, or child. I'll focus on the children because typically that's what I see. You've been in the United States 12 years. You came here as a visitor, you overstayed. Now, you have 3 U.S. citizen children. And if you go back to the Gambia, your daughter, God forbid, Aissetu, is going to be circumcised. Because sadly, female genital mutilation is still widely spread and widely practiced in our world, particularly in West Africa, and that must be stopped. But our government here in the United States, aside from the political influence they have on the international stage, can really only control U.S. citizen children or green card children. They can only really protect them. So the third element is saying, look, if you deport me as a Gambian national back to the Gambia, I'm going to bring my children, and they're U.S. citizen children. And if I bring my daughter to the Gambia, she will be circumcised. And that's something our government absolutely does not want to happen. Or alternatively, my child suffers from asthma. And as wonderful as Gambian people may be, the medical system there is very poor. And they don't have the facilities to handle an asthma attack of that severity. My child will die if you deport me. So this is the idea of cancellation of removal. It's a case that needs to be litigated. So you will see an immigration judge, but these are the 3 principal elements. This is a very general overview of the law, but I do want you to have this information because I get a lot of questions. What is this case about? I've been here 10 years, but I have an order of deportation. Can I still do the 10-year case? So cancellation of removal, 10 years continuous presence, good moral character, and hardship to U.S. citizen or green card holder. In most cases, it's children, but it could also be a spouse or a parent. In closing, I want to encourage everyone here to find out this information, because this information not only is going to protect you, but it's going to protect your children. And one thing I know about West African mothers, they take care of their children. So do ask questions and keep the family together. and work with each other and for each other to get accurate information and gain status in the United States so you then can be a part of these political organizations to make the United States stay a strong country and to continue to have your rights protected. And we have to keep learning about all this. We have that obligation as United States members. Any questions?
Any questions? Just to summarize and off, Teresa li doon wax léegi ne affaire immigration la. All right, mooy lan moo la qualify loo pour nga mën a toog ci dëkk bi. Sa visa bi suy jeex si wala su jeexee ba pare naka nga mën a def ban yoon nga mën a aw pour am grounds pour toog si dëkk bi. Come to find out ne su fekkee yaa ci dëkk bi am fi ay doom di nga si mën a benefitoo in some way. Li ma wax mooy ne or li ma encourage nit ñi mooy ne if you have any questions, we have your business cards here.
Our business cards are pretty much thanks to the 3 little children who have been putting them all over the place and helping me out with my advertising. They're on all the tables. We're located in downtown Manhattan. I have cases throughout the United States. I traveled to Georgia, North Carolina, Texas, Memphis. Immigration is federal law, so I practice throughout the country. However, you can get a telephonic conference with me. I can give you a consultation over the phone. I don't need you to lose a day's work just to speak with me and get an answer I can give you on the phone. But I do have people from Rhode Island coming down, and I hope that I can see some of you in a confidential setting and give you some information that, God willing, will change your lives for the better. Take care. Have a great celebration.
Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, please, the card looks like this. The card looks like this.
Li ma laajte may la mooy boo te amee ndax nit ñi nekk fii bari na ñoo xam ne ngeen ko dugg maanaam 95% yëpp amoon nañ ci ku dinaay fan la ci nguur gi tollu ndax mën nañu cee leeralal tuuti loolu laa bëggoon daal wax.
Okay, but I like the question, guys. I'm going to ask, think by hell, and I'm going to have interest to know and get laws and voices to it, please. Just keep it down for a little bit. Guys, keep it down for a little bit, please. All right. Teresa, the question is about LULAC. What is the status of LULAC, simply put?
What's been happening lately, and this started, I would say, pretty much in the middle of last year, people started getting notices from the service, the USCIS, about their LULAC cases that were filed years and years ago. So I had clients coming to me saying, look, I got this brown piece of paper that told me I have a chance to appeal my LULAC case. I haven't heard anything for 7 years. Why are they sending this to me now? Warning. If your LULAC case is not a genuine LULAC case, meaning if you didn't enter before 1982 and you don't qualify for the true statutory requirements for LULAC, please don't appeal it. Let it be abandoned. I have had people try to appeal a case based on these brown pieces of paper that they received, and they were detained when they went for their green card interview. Filing a frivolous LULAC application is a crime. It's dishonest. As sham marriages are, as filing applications that are not based on the truth. You don't need to do that. So if you were involved in that a long time ago, leave it in the past. It was a mistake. LULAC applications can be granted and processed if they're genuine. And if you have a genuine LULAC case and you qualify according to those regulations 1982, then definitely consult an attorney. But if you qualified, you probably would have already been adjudicated. So take care. One other thing, Mr. Torrey, if you'll just let me have. I also have had people come to me, and this is very important because it's about fraud, claiming that they've shown me these emails, and I've been in touch with the district attorney in the New York area. These emails look extremely genuine. They have the logo of the United States Department of Justice saying, you have been chosen randomly through the diversity visa lottery, which we know about, right? We all try to do that to get our families here. It says, you've been chosen, you've been selected, please Western Union this amount of money, or send a transfer. Now I look at this, I see the emblem, I say, goodness, these guys are professionals. They are professionals. But as I read, daughters is misspelled incorrectly. Instead of saying children, they say kids. One amount has too many zeros to match the written version of the word. So please, the government of the United States will never ask you to wire money. Through an email like that, they will never do that. And I'm seeing a lot of people come in, and sadly, I'm sure there's thousands of people who are actually wiring the money. Sadly enough, most of the emails are generated out of Nigeria and through banks that are in England. So if you see anything asking you to wire money, do not do it. Bring it directly to an immigration attorney and make sure it's a genuine email. But the United States won't ask you to wire money. So that's a warning to the community, please.
Thank you. Question for you, Anthropod. Thank you very much. All right. Deservingly. Teresa, clarification. Is LULAC still active, before I say the wrong thing?
It is still active,
okay.
Yes. For qualified applicants, sure.
Okay. Latte bi latte one earlier, moy affaire LULAC. As you know, ñu bari ñu nekk fi am nañ kayiti LULAC. The question was that mu ngi baax ba léegi ak ñi nga xam ne ñu ngi amoon LULAC kayit bu yàgg ba léegi fan la loolu toll. Tontu bi mooy ne LULAC mu ngi still active. Waaye su fekkoon ne da nga fileoon kayiti LULAC 8-9 years ago nga toog ba léegi nga am kayit bu brown buñ la bind na la ne nga war a dem toppatoo ji sa affaire kayiti LULAC yi. Su fekkee ne tapale moo la ci dugaloon bul dem. Am na ñoo xam ne li mu wax am na ñoo xam ne contact nañ office am dem biñ demee dañ leen téye joxuñ leen kayit dañ leen jàpp. So su fekkee ne da nga file on LULAC documents yoo xam ne they are legitimate filing, it's still active, yàlla mun naa def nga am si kayit. Waaye bu doon ne yëfi njoogaan la woon bàyyi ko mu dem mooy fukki ñaar. Okay? The other thing li mu wax mooy ne su fekkee ne da nga am email wala dañ ko ne letter na la ne wayal wala nga def Western Union xaalis si bank account yi may la. Okay, $50,000 is for immigration papers. Don't do it. Chances are you could have tapalakat lañ because immigration will na wax nga wire xaalis. So if faith then I'm process for an affair. Okay? Good question. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Looks like we now have our panel of guests that are here now. But what I would ask the team to do is we're going to take a 5-minute break. We got, I'm going to come back and we're going to readjust our program here. I know the food is still being served and therefore there's a promotion. Gabriel? Hey guys? Gabriel, can you guys keep me down in the... Okay, we're going to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you back. For those of you that have been with me, for those of you that are just coming in, I welcome you. We have a full program, and I want to make sure we have a full program, and I want to make sure that we cover everything that we are set to cover today. Real briefly, I am going to ask Gabriel. We have entertainment here from a group, from our folk from Ghana, who are going to give us some good entertainment. When we have, that's the winter group. When we have an intermission, we're going to go back to that and also go back to the Kora. But in the meantime, if I can have your attention, I have an important announcement here from the African Alliance of Rhode Island. Hello? I have an important announcement here. There will be a health fair. This is going to be the 7th annual health fair, organized and sponsored by the African Alliance of Rhode Island. It will be on Saturday, May 19th at 9. It starts at 9 in the morning and ends at 1:30 p.m. This will be at St. Paul's Church, 445 Elwood Avenue in Providence. For those of you that do not have health care or health benefits at work, or do have family members that need to be screened, basic health care screening, please be there. Again, African Alliance of Rhode Island, 7th Annual Health Summit. It is going to be held on May the 19th between 9 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. The address is 445 Elwood Avenue in Providence. If you need a flyer, there are flyers made, and please feel free to take a flyer with you. All right, next, ladies and gentlemen, next on our agenda, I am going to introduce to you our keynote speaker. The master of our event today, I am going to introduce to you our keynote speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman is the current president of the NAACP Providence branch, the National Association of Colored People in Providence. He is the president. He is also a manager at Rhode Island Housing, as a constituent program manager at Rhode Island Housing, if I said that correctly. He also produces and hosts his own television show, the Jim Vincent Show. He is also a founding member of the African Alliance of Rhode Island, AARI, and also sits as a board member at the Oasis International. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jim Vincent.
Assalamu alaikum. Come down. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Bon time.
Comment ça?
Good afternoon. I'd like to, as you can see, I'm with everybody.
Yes.
I'm with everybody. That's going to be the theme here. Being with everybody here in America. I'd like to thank your president, Gabriel, your vice president, Amadou, your host, Milo Touré, the organizers, the executive committee, your mobilizers, for doing a fantastic job of pulling together the 8th annual conference of the Pan-African Society of Rhode Island, a very, very important organization in our state. Believe me, I'm going to give you some numbers, and by the end of it, you're going to understand how important you are. If you don't know so already. Now, I'm not going to be in here long. Brevity has its place. You know, I learned a little bit of Wolof because there was another time in my life that I was a student at Florida Bay College in Sierra Leone. And while there, I had the great chance to visit a place called Bathurst. Anybody ever heard of Bathurst?
Yes, I have.
Bathurst. They say they call it Banjul now. Now, who knew? And I also spent a month in a place called Dakar at Siko Kepo Twa. So, you know, I'm familiar, with the continent. Now, my family comes from the Cape Verde Islands. My family's been here 100 years, both sides. They came on a boat that they were the captains and owners of. It took 5 weeks to get here. So we know about America. We've been Americanized. Cape Verdeans have been in this country 200 years. And we're the first Africans to immigrate here voluntarily. Now, I'm going to quickly go through an agenda that talks about voting power here, the Cape Verdean experience, the African lands and oasis, and I congratulate the august panel here for being here, NAACP coalition building, housing, business development, and jobs. Each of these topics, I think, is very important to any community, let alone the Pan-African community. And we're going to talk about leveraging your numbers so you have social, economic, and political power. Because in America, you have to leverage your numbers to have power over your laws. You get stepped on, you get stepped over, you get no respect, and you don't want to be in a situation like that if you're going to stay in America. That's the way it is in this country, like it or not. Let's talk about voting power first. And when I talk about voting power, I'm going to bring it on home. Most people here from the Seneca community, I assume, live in Woonsocket. Is that a good assumption? You live in Woonsocket. Now, I did a little bit of fact-finding. I found out that the population of Woonsocket is 43,000 people, but about 17% of that are people of color. And that's 7,300 people of color here in Woonsocket. And I would venture to say that most of that are Africans. And he said 7,300. Now, for voting purposes, I'd say about 65% of the people here are adults, eligible to vote. So let's bring that number down to 4,750. Remember that number, 4,750, mostly Africans in Woonsocket eligible to vote here in the U.S. Now, during the city council race last year, and look at these numbers. There's a 7-member city council here in Woonsocket. Guess how many votes it took number 7 to be elected? You know how many votes? Okay, hey guys, ladies and gentlemen. Voting power is important in America. And I know that people think they're going to go back home, and there's many Cape Verdeans that also thought the same thing, but they stayed. So you got to learn the game here in America. You know, the game of voting power. In Woonsocket, there was a city council race. Of the 4,500 people that voted, the person that came in 7th, Albert Green, who beat his daughter-in-law, Stella Green, for last place by 43 votes, garnered only 1,694 votes. He got on the Woonsocket City Council with 1,694 votes, and I'm telling you, I believe that in terms of Africans in Woonsocket that are eligible to vote, that figure is somewhere close to 4,750. 4,750 eligible, and yet this person with only 1,600 votes got into the city council. You could put all 7 people on the city council with numbers like 4,750 if you were organized. The Seneca community is organized in terms of the adults. You can put everybody in the city council would be from Seneca. That's possible by the numbers. Numbers don't lie. I've done my research. I came here prepared. So it's a tragedy that there's not only not one African on a Woonsocket City Council or a school committee, mayor's office, state rep, state senate. It's a tragedy not only if you don't find anybody in Woonsocket, but there's nobody from continental Africa and Rhode Island that's in an elected position. And that's going to change. Not one African. And I'm going to tell you in a minute that we have 40 different countries from Africa here. The 55 countries, there's 40 countries represented here. And not one African in any school committee, state assembly, nowhere, not one, from the continent. And that's going to change. Because we become victims with policies we have to accept. But we don't have to accept anything. The power is in your hands. You have to understand the numbers, organize, and act on it. And I'm telling you, school committee, you don't want to be on city council with the school committee. Maybe do a little bit easier. There's only 5 people, a little bit higher. But the winner, number 5, was 1,760 votes. 1,760 votes put the person number 5 in the school committee. The person 6 was 1,559. He lost by 100 votes. 101 votes. Again, I think that there's close to 4,750 Senegambians or Africans in the city of Woonsocket alone. And yet, people with 1,100, 1,600 votes are walking into the city council, dominating the city council, and making policies that affect each of your lives each day. Your lives, your children, your family. They dictate, you have to accept, and you feel that you have no power, but you do, because those numbers, 1,700 out of 40 and 4,700, there's too much of an opportunity in those numbers. It's 1/3 of those numbers. If 1/3 of the Africans came out, you could put people in office, at the city council, at the school committee level. 1/3, 1 out of 3 adults could put people on that in those offices. Let's look at the Senate and the House. You have 2 state senators. You got Roger Picard and you have Kotek. I can't read my own writing. Mark Kotek. All right, so if you follow that 4,500 votes in the last election follows 2 senators, that's 2,250 apiece. 2,250 apiece. That means in a 2-way race, 1,126 votes puts in a state senator. 1,100 puts in a state senator. You have 4,000, almost 4,700 Africans in Woonsocket. 1,126 votes put Roger Picard and Mark Kotek in the Senate. And in terms of the House, it's even worse. You have 3, Lisa Baldelli Hunt, John Breen, and Robert Phillips. 1,500 apiece, let's say. 3 people out of 4,500. 761 votes put each of them in. 761 votes in your state representative in the city of Woonsocket. 700. We can put that in this room, just to help, and elect our own state representative. Come on. That can happen, but if you don't have anybody telling you the numbers and what have you, then you're never going to be able to feel that it's possible. You got to believe. Now, I'm just going to stay with voting just one bit more. Statewide, we feel that there's at least 50,000 Africans. Somebody said 70,000. Let's just say 50,000, of which 32,000 are adults voting. You know how much Lincoln Chafee, the governor, won by against John Robitaille in the last election? You know what his margin of victory was? Remember the number, 4,750. Africa, just in Woonsocket. We're not talking about anywhere else. His margin of victory was 8,637 votes. That's all. He won by 8,000 votes. He became a governor by 8,000 votes. Governor of the whole state. We could elect our own governor if we wanted to. That's what we really wanted to do. We could elect the governor of Rhode Island, African. That's Africa. That can happen. Now, look at Cicilline, Congressman Cicilline, because this is the congressional building. This is the congressional seat here. He's running for his life. He beat John Wofford the last time by a whopping 9,600 votes. 9,600 votes he won by. Now, he might not be able to put a congressman in, but he sure can influence what he does. We had an NAACP breakfast yesterday, and Senator Reid and Gina Raimondo, the treasurer, and Congressman Slaney were tripping over themselves to greet me and get to the microphone. You know why? Because they perceive the NAACP has power. Black power, NAACP, 100 years old. We were started because black people were being lynched. 100 years ago, black people could not vote just because they were black in America. Could not vote because they were black in America. Believe this. And schools were segregated based on your color. The good schools were white, and the bad schools, of course, were black. and NAACP said, no way, Jose, and that changed. We still fighting. Hasn't changed totally, but we're still fighting. That's what we. But they feel we have power. They're tripping all themselves to come to a breakfast on Saturday morning at the Marriott because of the perception of black power. And you have it here in this room. I'm telling you, the numbers. I looked at the numbers. I couldn't believe it. All right. So that's enough on voting. Let's go to the Cape Verdean experience. I told you my family's from Cape Verde, and I guess I'm responsible for putting Cape Verde back in Africa and out of Portugal. I know that there's a lot of people that know Cape Verdeans that don't claim to be African. Well, I do. I do. West Africa. Cape Verde is on West Africa. I can look at maps. I can read, so I understand where my forebears are from. West Africa, Cape Verde Islands. Of course, some people, because of Portuguese colonialism, still think they're Portuguese, and I can understand that because that 500 years of brainwashing is a lot for people to go through and endure. So, you know, there's no excuse for my fellow people. You know, they've been through a lot. However, let's look at Cape Verdeans in this state and Rhode Island. Forget the country. Let's look at Rhode Island. 5 years ago, we had one person in the Providence City Council, Albina. We had 2 people in the State House, Joe Albina and another young man that I'm going to mention in a minute. And Cape Verdeans had 1 person in the Senate. There's only 2 people of color in the Senate. One is Juan Pachado, who's Dominican. The other one's Harold Max. He's Cape Verdean. He's West African. He's in the Senate. So I had said continental Africa, not all of Africa. Cape Verdean, an island off the West Coast. I kind of, used, that as an example because nobody still has the right to continental Africa. Now we have 1 in the Senate, still Harold Max, 1 in the House, but boy, is he powerful. I've been told by many people that the most powerful person in state government, more powerful than the governor, is the Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House. How many people here know that the Speaker of the House